I find it very difficult to be dispassionate myself about this. Because for me, being part of the European Union is about values. I do not think that we are European because we can trade freely with each other. I do not think that we are European because we can travel without showing the passports to anybody, important as that is. I feel that we are European because we share those values about countries working together, about compromising, about giving a little bit of your own interest so that we can all reach a better future. I hero worship the commitment of the European Union to human rights, its commitment to multilateralism. I truly do. And it is for that reason that I find it difficult to be dispassionate about this, but I can put that aside and try to be objective as to what needs to be improved. Well, that is what I could be asking from you. That you can be objective enough to put aside your own views about the European Union and simply consider what needs to be improved or not, without considering whether it should collapse or not. I think that it is sad to see that there are so many people in this country I love, who do not look at the EU like an organization that may need some tweaking or some reform here or there. But they rather look at the EU and they see immediately the collapse, the end of the euro, the collapse of the European economy, the end of all the EU structures, the end of supranationalism as a whole. The EU is not about to collapse. It has gone through a very difficult moment, and it would have been even more difficult if Marine Le Pen would have won the French elections. But she has not. The 2008 crisis, which was a big economic shock, a big heart attack, affected us all. All in the West, the European Union, the UK, the US. And that led to a whole series of political consequences, the rise of populism, that has indeed affected us all as well. But while anti-European populism is a very serious concern, is still a very serious concern, anti-European populism has been defeated in the ballot box in France. It has been defeated in the ballot box in Italy. It has been defeated in Spain and in Austria. It has been defeated in Holland. It has been defeated in the German landers. Now, think for a second about how different that situation is in relation to what has happened in the US, where Donald Trump is president, and yes, he didn't win the popular vote, but still. Or think about how different that is in relation to the situation in the UK itself, where not only anti-Europeanism won the Brexit vote, but where now we are witnessing how the populist anti-European movement of UKIP is becoming mainstream voters within the Conservative Party. It may just be, and I know that some of you will disagree with this, but it may be that for all the criticism that there has been since the year 2000 probably, and certainly since 2008, about the notion of the European welfare state, it may be that it's precisely that commitment to the welfare state what has made that in European countries, populism has not managed to get all the way to power, though I will be very happy to talk further about that in the questions and answers, because I think that something which is quite different as well is the huge economic vested interests that is behind populism in countries such as the UK and the US. The political tectonic plates of the world are moving. They are moving as we speak. We have gone from a bipolar world, the Cold War, to a world where we had basically one single power, the Pax Americana, and now we are moving into a framework where we see different countries competing with each other, different big powers. We have the US, we have the re-emergence of Russia, we have China, clearly, there are the aspirations of India, perhaps of Turkey. But that some see as reason for the decline of Europe, to me and to many Europeans, simply means that there is yet another reason to try to do more things together. There is yet another reason to try to be more European, because it is obvious that in a world where we are going to be dominated by big powers, the only manner to defend the kind of society that we believe in, the kind of society that is focused on embracing progress, not on fighting against it, on cooperating with each other, on multilateralism, is by countries acting together. In fact, I would argue that not only the European Union is not about to collapse, but there is a revival of Europeanism. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that barely 1 year from the Brexit vote, we would not be in a situation where European countries would be leaving the European Union like domino pieces, as Boris Johnson or Gove or Farage claimed? Who would have thought? I was on the 8th of March in Madrid. The streets of Madrid were full of European flags to celebrate the 9th of May, the European Day. I had never, ever in my whole life seen anything like that. Who would have thought that the French president would walk to the podium to the sound of the Ode of Joy? That young people all throughout Europe would cheer to him. Even in traditionally anti-European countries like Sweden or Denmark, anti-European feeling, populism, is in retrench. And I do not think that all that has happened just by chance. I do not even think that Europe has been able to do that on its own. I think that we owe this to Brexit, to the Brexit vote. Every single tragedy has a silver lining. I think that the silver lining of the Brexit vote was the recession in terms of anti-European populism in Europe. So what needs to be reformed in the EU, which is really the topic of the day? Well, there are, of course, dysfunctional elements within the EU, as there are dysfunctional elements in Whitehall, or in Westminster, or in Hertfordshire Council. There are dysfunctional elements pretty much in every single institution that we create, and we humans, when we organize ourselves, we accept a certain level of dysfunctionality, provided that we can live with it. I have worked myself both in the Foreign Office and in the European Commission, and I tell you, I don't really know which one is more dysfunctional than the other. I do not believe in reform for reform's sake. And I think that there have been very good reasons why reform has not taken place over the last few years within the European Union. The beginning of the year 2000 was really dominated by enlargement, by trying to integrate all those countries from Central and Eastern Europe that, in my view, in my whole life, is about the best political move for all the costs that that has had, the most positive political move that I have ever seen. Then came the crisis. After the trying to stabilize the euro, there have been very good reasons why we could not do reform, and it is only now that the timing seems right to do a reform, but to do a rational reform, to do a reform that is serene, that is not in the middle of emotional, histrionic movements or rhetoric. We just need to do this with common sense, and I think that the European Union should do that also without defensiveness, because the European Union has lots of reasons to be proud of. In my opinion, we have three sorts of issues, and I will pick this up in the questions, but there are politics that need to be changed, structures that need to be reconsidered, and perhaps there is a whole re-questioning of the institutions. In terms of the policies that need to be changed, obviously the most important one is growth and economic policies. I think that it is in everybody's mind that we need a new rebalance between the north and the south of the Eurozone. We need to be able to ensure that the countries of the south can share some of that pain with the north, while the north is still able to say to the south that they need more fiscal discipline. Everybody knows it. We have known this now for more than 5 or 6 years. We have not been tackling this matter as we should. Perhaps the timing is right now to be able to reopen this book. It certainly seems the case.